Help him on the pick!
From the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton, Alberta, this is the 6th World Wheelchair Basketball Championship. Athletes from a dozen countries have been vying for the world title over the last 10 days of round-robin competition. Number 9, Roy Skipper Henderson. Number 10, Ken Hall. Number 11, Chris Samus. And number 13, Pat Griffin, rounding up Canada's starting lineup. And for the United States, number 4, Mike Schlappe. Number 6, Mark Shepard. Number 10, Reggie Colton. Number 14, Trooper Johnson. And number 15, Darrell Waller. This has all the makings of a great basketball game. And Trooper Johnson comes up the floor for the United States. Spin move. Gets it inside. And Reggie Colton, who is second in the tourney with 22.8 points per game on average, gets the U.S. on the board early.
Bad start, though, to make it that easy. You know, for the U.S. to score in 20 seconds is not what we need out of it.
And also, they're going right to their strengths. Darrell Tree Waller has such an incredible height advantage. If they can get him in like that, they'll do it all day.
Pat Griffin on the outside to Grant Stobach. Back to skipper Roy Henderson, and he leaves it there for Chris Samus. Now Stobach from three-point land. Doesn't go, and Trooper Johnson retrieves for the U.S. This guy is an excellent all-round player, and here he comes up the floor. Johnson looking for his own post and banks it off and in. 4-0 USA.
USA is coming out on fire. Canada looking a little hesitant, indicative of the fact they had to take that last-minute long shot to avoid running out on the shot clock.
That's right. The U.S. hasn't had to run their offense yet. They've run it down and gotten 2 baskets off their transition game, whereas Canada's tried to set up and seems to be a little stalled here.
Samus to Griffin. The shot clock down to 7 seconds. Griffin driving the lane. Good shot as it goes up and in. Have to get high on that one to get it over the defender.
And that is a pivotal basket because they need to have Patty Griffin in the game.
And I think they just caught Patty trying to slow someone down coming up.
This is actually a matchup that I anticipated, Jack. Maybe you'll agree with me here. Reggie Colton, big guy. Pat Griffin, small, quick, and he, in previous games, that has been his assignment, is to try and prevent the big man from getting up the floor.
Well, he's doing it here. He's really blocking him out, and it looks as if Griffin his assignment is to keep the big man off the board.
There's a foul on Grant Strobach trying to keep old Tree Waller out of that key. Sometimes that's a tall order when the guy is not only so big but can move so quickly, and he just got caught with a little bit of extra hook there.
That's right. Just being tall and being bigger than other people is not going to help you unless you can move that wheelchair around.
Number 4, Johnson.
Trooper Johnson was number 2 in scoring on their team. Second in assists, an incredible free throw average.
He never stops working. He's an excellent player defensively as well. And speaking of which, there's Pat Griffin with the ball. Thought about a three-pointer, gives it to Kenny Hall. He's looking inside and then dishes back into the top of the popper where Griffin has it down. Again, the shot clock winding down as Strobach bombs it. And there for the rebound is Darrell Tree Waller. He'll just simply let it go out of bounds.
No, Canada once again showing some of the symptoms of the tournament, trying to get their offense on track. 2 major shots with just seconds on the clock from long range.
Yeah, not the shots they want either. I mean, it's
we played 2.5 minutes. Trooper Johnson and his rebound hauled in by Darrell Waller, and Strobach up the floor quickly to Pat Griffin. Thought about sending the pass across to Chris Samus, doesn't. Sees Ken Hall there.
good job.
And the shot's just a little off the mark, and Waller there to haul it in.
We've got to get some transition shots. If it sets up and they get their bigger players under the basket, I don't think we're getting any offensive rebound.
Mark Shepard, no slouch himself, and he hits promptly.
Well, the U.S. is on fire, shooting high percentage shots, and they're definitely taking their shots as well with that transition game.
Griffin, who's had an excellent tournament, leads the team with 11 points per game. Gets a pass to Stroback. Guarded by a couple of trees, Waller and Colton. Now Ken Hall sneaks free inside, gets it. Great pass from Samus, and the turnaround shot by Hall goes down.
Good ball movement. They moved it around from one side to the other. Caught a mismatch in there. Good angle. Lays the ball right up. I think that's what we have to see more of.
Mike Schlappy of the United States. 8-4, the U.S. on top. 16-16 to go here in the first half.
Now, Kenny Hall from Canada, number 10, is going to be one of the pivotal points in their whole team offense. He's a guy that he's young, but he has a tremendous opportunity for mismatch against the other Class 2 on the U.S. team.
Nails from long range, and Canada's closed to within 2 points.
That's what I mean. That's what's great about basketball. One guy's hot, then you're beginning to think they're going to have real trouble, and then the next guy's come back.
Big collision inside, Stroback and Tree Waller. Waller forced to leave his chair.
And Stroback
is second.
He's going to have to watch himself inside. It's a tall order to be guarding Waller. Picks up another foul. You can bet he'll be sitting for a bit.
Cooper Johnson sets up.
Gave him too much room. I don't know if he anticipated the fact that he didn't put much pressure on that. He may have been trying to protect inside.
Johnson with 6 of the Americans, 10 points so far. U.S. on top, 10-6, 15-30 to go. Kenny Hall with the ball. Looking inside. Pat Griffin, outlet to Henderson. Henderson back to Griffin. Nice move on Waller, and then the reverse layup.
Is that a play? Well, you know, he used the backboard and the basket as a little protection.
Let's take a look at this beautiful drive here.
Yes, is coming in. Skipper gives it into the side. Beats his man. Good fake, beats his man. Now he looks like he's going to get caught. Just flips it back up.
Incredible pressure.
And it's got legs on it. They crawled back in when it hit that rim.
The Americans come back. Reggie Colton, 12-8 the score now. Now Griffin. Henderson trying to sneak inside. Now Stroback. Sends the pass in to Griffin. Will he do the reverse? No, he returns the pass back to Stroback. Now Griffin wheeling his way around. 9 seconds on the shot clock. And pretty much forced that one at the hoop.
We're getting one shot, Canada. If we're Canada, we're getting one shot. We better realize that. Those shots better be quality shots.
They sure have to be, definitely, because they're definitely not going to be getting the defensive or the offensive rebound.
Cooper Johnson again looking for 8 points. That one off the mark. And then the foul called on Reggie Colton as he was pitted in a battle with Roy Henderson underneath.
Henderson did a good job. He blocked his man out, couldn't get the ball, tipped it away, and got fouled as the American player tried to reach over.
Now we have Jimmy Enright substituting in for Grant Stroback. Grant having a couple of fouls.
Enright, number 7, really is a young player, I guess. He hasn't played much, is
Jimmy's been around since about 1989.
Oh, all right. He knows what to do, but he seems like an excitable player. Sometimes he's got to slow down a little bit.
Jimmy's an emotional player, and when he's on and in his groove, boy, you want him out there on the floor. Now there's a concern. 2 fouls on Pat Griffin early in the game.
Coliseum in Edmonton. Cooper Johnson. Oh, quick pass inside for Schlappy. And fouled on the play. Looked like Chris Samus got in his way.
Chris Samus is one of the best Class 1s in this entire country. Not only that, but in the entire world. His speed is incredible. Great hands. One of the things that Chris has to do is try to open up his offense. He's one of the purest shooters out there on the Canadian floor, but sometimes he's just not in the position to be shooting.
Perhaps a little wishful thinking on my part, thinking that the foul was called against Samus. It was against Griffin, his 3rd foul.
I didn't pick that up because that is a major concern, because I think we got to try and stay in the game. If we're Canada, we better stay in this game right now with Griffin out of there. And it may not be as easy as it looks.
Mike Schlappe couldn't hit, but Tree Waller does. It's now 15-10, USA on top, 13:20 to go here in the first half. The big story right now for Canada, Pat Griffin with 3 fouls and on the bench. Jim Enright, top of the popper, sends a pass to Jeff Dennis. He's bombing from three-point land, and nicely hauled in by Enright, who's underneath battling a couple of the big boys.
I think he could have gotten himself a little foul in there if the ref had looked a little more carefully.
It would have been nice.
Yeah.
Schlappe sneaking his way in, and a quick pass from Mark Shepard into Colton. Bangs it off the iron, and Canada comes up with the ball. Enright again. He'll bring the ball up the floor with 12:40 to go. A 5-point U.S. lead. Chris Samus will send it there for Jeff Dennis. Quick pass into Ken Hall, and he likes to shoot from that range. And maybe Reggie Colton knew that because he was in his face.
Boy, he sure got a good piece of that ball.
Here's an oddity. Waller bringing the ball up the floor.
But Canada's lucky there that they didn't get off to a fast break with that kind of a block.
Wide open underneath is Schlappe, and it's pretty happy with that one. 17-10, the U.S. on top.
I think you're probably going to start to see a timeout coming in or a major substitution from Canada because they've got to settle down.
Got to do something to stop where we are right now. Got to stop the game somehow, either with a substitution or a time.
Samus couldn't get lucky there, and the U.S. of A. breaks back up the floor. There's Waller again. Maybe it isn't an oddity for the big man to bring the ball up the floor, and then he hits the little guy, Schlappe, who nails it. 19-10.
Well, the U.S. is on fire. Their percentage of shooting is really phenomenal.
Jeff Dennis thinking of 3. Unfortunately, no for Canada. This is the Gold Cup World Wheelchair Basketball Championship from Edmonton.
Those are those substitutions you talked about, Rick. They've got to make some changes, shake this up somehow, and not allow this to continue because we've had a streak there of perhaps 6-7 points run off by the U.S.
Yeah, they're bringing in now some of the young players, Richard Peters and Dave Dupas. Dave is number 12, Richard Peters is number 8.
And into the game now for the United States, Steve Welsh. He's a pretty good player himself. Rupert Johnson on fire. His 8th point.
It was foul away from the shot. The basket will count, but then the United States gets the ball back. Look at that shot. Good movement. We bring the ball back in until he's challenged, and there it goes to the trooper.
You can see Johnson's already set and moving into position before that ball gets there, and that's really critical.
Steve Welsh pulling pass to Mark Shepard underneath, lays it up and in. 23-10 USA. The run is on.
Canada got caught with an out-of-bounds play by the U.S.
There's Chris Samus response. Might bring some much-needed life into this Canadian bench.
That's right. They've got to bounce back quickly now.
Now Mark Shepard slowly up the floor. The Americans content with slowing things down right now. They've got themselves an 11-point lead, and there's the trooper again. Doesn't go in, and the skipper, Roy Henderson, hauls it down. Tried a gutsy pass to Richard Peters, and sneaking in was Mike Schlappe, and I think he's drawn the foul.
He has, and it's a lucky play because had he not drawn the foul, number one, if he hadn't drawn a foul, it was a steal, and number two, I'm not sure that he didn't get fouled.
Yeah, I think we got lucky on that break.
Jim Enning waiting for his teammates to catch up. 10:20 to go. 23-12, the USA leading.
Well, you know, sometimes in coaching you get forced into situations. You know, number 12 is not a guy that plays an awful lot because of the way the game was going. He was forced in there, and maybe we do have some outside shooting.
And look at the traffic inside, and there's Jim Enright again to break that one up. Pass intended for Chris Samus. He's going Oh, and couldn't get the spin off the glass, and the Americans break back Schlappy.
And give number 14, Trooper Johnson, credit for hustling down to put the pressure on the old Chris Samus before that shot was made.
That's right. Trooper not only scores points, but he prevents them.
Hey, let's watch this and see him coming down here.
Substitutions in for the United States, number 5, Mel Duet, and number 15, Daryl Waller.
The Americans have brought back Tree Waller. Looks like they try to work inside on him right away.
Mark Shepard wanted to bang that one off the glass. Hustling in underneath were the Americans, and now Daryl Tree Waller off the glass, and in it goes. A 10-point American lead. Jeff Dennis with the ball. Chris Samus on the wing to Dave Whoa! He's got the three-point touch. Finds the pot of gold at the end of that three-point rainbow, and Canada within 7 now.
Well, you talked about coaches being forced to make decisions. Coach Joe Higgins is an incredibly bright and talented coach, and he's made a tactical change here. He's brought in his three-point shooters, and Richard Peters is also a great three-point land shooter, so watch for him.
Well, that's right, and that's what we need right about now, and a break like that.
Trooper Johnson had set that bullet pass inside, couldn't really negotiate it. Mel Jouet, and Canada breaks back, and there he is again, a familiar figure, Dave Durapos from three-point territory. Unfortunately, that one didn't go down, but he seems to have his sights set on that three-pointer.
It's a little harder to be shooting the ball off the dribble. Maybe what you need to do is give the ball up, go back and get set, and then receive the pass, and then you're ready. A guy like Durapos should always remember that.
That's right, and again, play within yourself, because in the NBA, there are players that shoot off the dribble and players who don't. Let's see if we can listen in on Coach.
I think it's difficult to pick something up there, but you can imagine that Joe Higgins is trying to get all of his players into the opens. He wants them all to start to work in. He knows that Chris Samus has the ability to shoot, and he's already made one basket. He wants him to look at the opportunities. They want to get into Eric Crusoe because Crusoe has the ability to open up the inside, and they have to at least commit Tree Waller to try to commit some fouls.
And the U.S. had to call a timeout then because they had been stalled the last few times. They got a 7-point lead, but they were up 9 and really trying to blow Canada out of there.
Tree Waller.
That's where you want him to shoot from, is just too far out, and that was very good defense by Roy Henderson and Eric Crusoe.
Crusoe, you're right about that. Made a good play to wrestle the ball away from the tree.
Not only does he do a good job defensively, but he also goes and gets the rebound.
Now Chris Samus, Trooper Johnson on him, gets the ball to Richard Peters. May have been checked out, and it was. The tree got his trunk on it. Ball goes out of bounds. 25-18 the score. USA on top. 8:19 to go. We're in our second semifinal here this evening at Northlands Coliseum. Dave Durapos. Chris Samus. Back to Durapos. And now Eric Crusoe. Tough luck there.
Good shot, pretty good ball movement. They panicked a little bit and they got into some ball.
Americans are playing a strong defense.
And their size is even on the outside.
Sneaking in was Mark Shepard as the big man, Colton and Waller exchange dishes.
You can see how Colton drew the double team, and of course the little guy slipped in the back door and had that easy layup.
That's what we got to worry about. If you guard those big guys, you try and double down on them, you make heroes out of other people.
Inside for
See, that's a tough ball in any kind of basketball. He got bumped, And I know the official is going to say, well, he didn't get bumped hard enough, but he got bumped hard enough to lose the ball.
Yes, and balance is a key component of this game.
Johnson looking for Bolton inside, and there's a pretty good battle waged there by Peters and Bolton, but I think that Peters lost it and drew the foul, an intentional foul. Kind of a tough call there.
And I guess the official felt that he saw himself at a distinct disadvantage and tried to make up for it.
In reality, I believe they were just wrestling for position.
What we saw of it, it didn't look as if it was an intentional situation. Just trying to get it. I thought he was caught a little unawares of the ball coming in there. Had his head turned.
Bolton, 9 steals through the tournament. Pretty good statistic for a big guy, so he likes to get in on the action. Didn't get that second one, but the U.S. retains possession. They'll inbounds. 28-18 the score, 7:26 to go.
Well, those steals are not a real surprise because the size means that you take up an awful lot more room.
Shepard. Trying to sneak backdoor was Mel Jouet. Well, outlet to Trooper, and baseline shot goes in. This guy is hot, 10 points, 30-18 USA.
I don't think that he can be allowed to shoot open shots like that.
No, he's averaging 14 points a game, and we're not even finished the first half, and he's got already 10 points. You know that he's got to be shut down.
Durapos gets it back to Eric Corso.
Good switch by the U.S.
Some good moves by the big Canadian man. Unfortunately, didn't have the finish. And here comes Trooper Johnson again. A 1-on-2.
I think Trooper's going to be a general if he hits another shot here. You get that Trooper stuff.
Trooper to Shepard. Spin move. And a nice one it was. And a good battle again inside the tree. And Corso going at it.
Canada foul on number 15, Eric Corso. His first.
Tree Waller just is so intimidating. His presence, such a huge man. His reach is incredible. Now like Corso just can't keep up to him, and so they're going to be battling all day, and again, he's going to be drawing fouls.
And luckily, Corso has only got the first foul. When I committed that, I thought that he had some other, because he's got to be in the game. He's one of Canada's premier big men.
Waller couldn't get it. Canada in the transition game now brings up the ball. Nice pass inside for Richard Peters. Of real goodness.
That's a great basketball play. He's led down there, great pass, but he timed it and got underneath that pass and then laid it up.
Now Shepard marking out some signals for the U.S. crew. Content with shooting it, and why not if you're going to get results like that? 32-20, USA on top.
Excellent play on that one because Canada switched off a little late maybe, put some pressure on him, so it was a tough shot.
Peters made a good reaction to keep the ball in bounds, wasn't expecting the pass. And there he is setting up from three-point range. Off the rim and out of bounds it goes. The U.S. will take over.
Rick, is he one of the few players that shoots the ball with 2 hands from out there?
Yeah, Richard Peters, it looks like he shoots with 2 hands, but his release is quite late in the three-point range, and he's actually an amazingly accurate three-point shooter. We just think he's a little nervous and tight out there right now.
Big collision just around the center line, and losing the battle was Durapos. And there he's right back up, and he gets the long pass just beyond his fingertips.
Now, you know, in stand-up basketball, we always tell people, don't throw the ball ahead of people, throw the ball to people. You know, and that's what happened, and it got out ahead. Now, instead of me throwing the ball to you, I'm throwing the ball and asking you to go get it.
And the only way you can throw it out ahead, usually in wheelchair basketball, is you put a bit of backspin on it so it just hesitates enough for a guy to accelerate under it.
The World Wheelchair Basketball Championships are coming from Edmonton, 32-20. USA leading Canada, 5:20 to go. John Sexsmith with Jack Donahue and Rick Hansen. We were treated to a thriller our first semifinal match. Great Britain pulling it out at the wire, and Canada will have to turn it up at least a notch if they want to get back into this one.
Speaking of turning it up a notch, I think you can hear the crowd here largely partisan Canadian fans.
That's right.
Cheering on their hometown heroes from Canada, trying to get more involved in this game.
Well, Jack, we've got to talk about it now. A vocal crowd at the U.of.A. Butterdome. The World Student Games. Canada, your team Canada, knocks off the USA, and in essence, the dream team it was. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, it's our team Canada, everybody's team Canada, but it was an unbelievable, and it's on this floor. That's what I hope these guys remember. It was on this floor, and it wasn't an easy win. You know, it was back and forth, back and forth. By the way, we'll get back to that, but I'm so glad to see number 13 in there, Pat Griffin, because I think it's essential that he's out there. He makes a lot of things happen for Canada.
He's great on both sides of the ball, great defensively, great offensively, but he had no chance of stalking Mark Shepard.
Mark Shepard is also offensively on fire. They're going to have to come out and put some pressure. They can't let him get those easy shots.
Well, in any game, I don't think you allow the guy who's got the ball to be unguarded. You know, that guy is there's got to be some pressure on that guy unless he's a horrible shot. And I don't think the U.S. has any horrible shots out there.
Certainly not this fella right here, number 14, Trooper Johnson. He's already got 10 in the ball game. Trying to set things up right now. And there he goes again.
And Canada was
conscious.
But Canada was so worried about getting in there and helping out with the big guy that I would like to see them go out and chase after that outside shooter and let the big guy do something.
I talked to Coach Brad Hendricks before the game and asked him if he was going to do anything special for the Canadian team. He said, no, they're going to continue to move on a freewheeling basis, go inside, go outside, and keep that transition game moving.
Canada not getting that finish they'd like. And Reggie Colton certainly does. 38-20, USA on top. Is there such a thing as playing a patient game when you're down 18, Jack?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of time. 18 is nothing in the first half. The problem is that we've got to get some consistent scoring. Stop them at the other end.
The reason I ask is because we've seen on 3 different possessions Canada go for the three-pointer. And right back come the USA again.
That's right. The idea is to get them 2 or 1 at a time. Don't worry about 3 at a time. That'll come.
Shepard tried to sneak a pass into Reggie Colton.
I think if they're going to try for the three-pointer, it's also really imperative that they're quality three-point shots, that they do take the patient shots.
The key, I remember when the three-point first came in international ball, I went and talked to a friend of mine coaching in the NBA, you know, a series of probably 6 or 8 coaches that I knew really well. And the key answers I got, one, was make it part of your offense, not just to win the game when you're down. And that's an important thing. It's got to be something you do all game.
And another telltale sign on the score clock is Canada 7 fouls, the USA 3. And there it is, Canada's 8th.
And that puts
US in the bonus.
US on the bonus, on the foul.
Really interesting to note that Canada only has 5 defensive rebounds in this game. Or 7, sorry, 7 offensive rebounds.
And that gentleman right there could be one reason why. Darryl Waller, certainly an intimidating force out there. Just look at the size of this guy. And then he bangs down 2 free throws.
Contrast that statistic, the U.S. has 11 defensive rebounds. So they're really dominating their own.
Canada has got to get them. The score's been doubled. You know, something's got to change quickly. Reg McClellan in. Yeah, we both realized there's a guy who's been around a little bit. Played in every single Gold Cup.
Maybe that experience.
Reg McClellan is a clutch player against American teams. He has had incredible national, North American, and international experience against Americans and always seems to come out with a good game.
Griffin tried for the steal there and then hustles back into the play to get the ball. And Canada comes up the floor. Richard Peters cuts it, puts on the brakes. Long pass outside to Dave Durapos, the 3-point specialist so far here tonight. McClellan, long pass, and there to intercept is Reggie Colton. He gets the ball to Mel Jouet, And a collision there. McClellan goes down hard, and I think he takes the foul.
He may have gotten bumped into it. He certainly fouled the guy with the ball, but he may have gotten pushed into it. We've got 2.5 minutes to go, and we've got a 17-point game. I mean, Canada's got to. I don't know whether the goal might be to bring it down under 15 before we get into that locker room.
I think psychologically you're right, Jack. 15 points is a pretty significant obstacle. If you can get under that, 14 even is really a big difference.
Just trying to look, and it is psychological. It's an extra basket or two, but you're always trying to set a goal. It's a reasonable goal because it's only the halftime. You don't have to win the game in this first half, but you got to get where you can be within striking distance in the second half.
Bill Jouet to the line.
Let's go, Will! Let's go!
That's the first of the 1-on-1.
That way, let's get that guy. In there.
Jouet very deliberate in his delivery. It seemed like forever to take that pair of free throw shots. But the good news is he only came out with 1 point, at least as a Canadian fan. 41-23 to score. Richard Peters. Little dish there for Durapos, and there he goes again. And there he goes again to haul the rebound. Big collision. Ken Hall goes down pretty hard. Mark Shepard has the ball with 2 minutes to go here in the first half. 41-23, the U.S. on top. Trooper Johnson underneath, gets his own rebound and gets it in. 14 points for the Trooper.
You can see there Kenny Hall had fallen out in the offensive court for Canada. The Americans had taken possession and gone into their offensive court, so he posed no threat, so the referees did not call it. And now that it's Canada's possession, they called it, and they're waiting until he's actually back in his chair.
And it's a safety. If they felt there was any chance of injury, they would have stopped it. But you see the way the U.S. took advantage of that. They ended up with the man advantage and stuck the ball right inside.
All the talk was how effective the big men were from the United States coming into this game, but Trooper Johnson has just been outstanding.
14 points. We haven't even finished the first half. He's been averaging 14 points from the entire game.
And he doesn't have a foul out there. You know, he's playing a nice, neat game. He'll be around for the end of the ball game if they need him. Not only that, those big men know have loosened it up for him a little bit. Canada's very much concerned about playing inside. And this is a tough one. Canada is a tough one.
That was a turnover. Richard Peters was trying to let one of his men actually be able to recover that ball and got caught.
Possession United States. Coming in from Canada, number 14, Jeff Dennis.
And Joe Higgins making a change. Pat Griffin will come out.
Well,
Jeff Dennis checks in.
That might be a strategic third foul. You'd like to get somebody out of there if you don't think it's going to matter. You know, that third and fourth seem to come together pretty quickly.
An overall would be a killer with 1 minute and 35 seconds to go here in the first
Give him
half.
a little blow, a little bit of a rest. Take a look at it between that and the halftime. Foul inside, it looks like, for the penalty.
Coach McClellan called for a little bit of contact under there, very slight.
And all those Reg McClellan fans didn't think it was a good idea.
Well, this is his hometown. Reg learned
yeah.
how to play basketball here in Edmonton and was a great contributor to the development of the Alberta Northern Lights.
And now it's the executive director of wheelchair basketball back in Ottawa. I get to see Reg pretty often.
What a great player, though, huh?
Well, I didn't have the privilege to see him play the way you and Rick had done, but I just know as an administrator, as a businessman, he is very good. And he's going to contribute to wheelchair basketball on and off the court.
As he lives and breathes wheelchair basketball.
Actually, triple whammy. Great player, great guy, great administrator.
All right.
There's Tree Waller extending the U.S. lead to right now 23 points. Durapol. And McClellan.
And our goal of under 15 now comes to let's get it under 20.
Jeff Dennis. And McClellan. Quick feed inside. The play. Canadians react, and the U.S. breaks back up the floor. Shepard. Dennis there, along with Hall, providing resistance.
Looks like Reg McClellan caught again.
That's a couple of quick fouls on McClellan. I think he now has 3.
Let's see if we can take a look at that. There we have Johnson coming in. Oh, sorry, Mark Shepard.
Where is that foul coming out of? You know?
There's a contact just to your right.
All right,
right
yes, okay, just a little out of the...
Yeah, you can see how he's spinning around there.
And I know you can fall down in a wheelchair without anybody helping you, but the odds are that he got some help.
Well, Jack, what do you think that Joe Higgins will be saying to his team at this point? 49 seconds to go in the first half, down by 23.
Right now, Joe is hoping that there'll be an earthquake or a bomb scare and that we can do this again some other time. But right now, I think he's got to remind him, we got 50 seconds out there. We got, you know, a little less than a minute to fight. We've got a 23-point game. Let's not do anything crazy. Let's make sure that when we get our hands on the ball, we use the clock a little bit and shoot it. No wild shots. The U.S. is hoping there'll be a wild shot and they'll go and get 2 or 3 baskets in the next 50 seconds.
What about a pressing defense, Jack?
Well, they're going to have to press, but I don't think there's any sense in letting the U.S. see what the press looks like over 50 seconds.
Right.
I don't think they'll press right now. Maybe a simple zone press coming off a foul shot, so easy to set up. But I don't know if he might not wait that for the second half and get out. No sense letting them go in there and have a scouting report on what you're going to do in the press. Let's see if they are. U.S. is going back. They're not going to press.
There goes Jeff Dennis with the ball. 45 seconds to go here in the first half. USA 48, Canada 23. Hitting Hall to Dennis. Miracle. And thinking of 3 there was Richard Peters. He's going to try it this time. Just a little off the mark.
And that is his shot. I've seen him in practice.
That's right.
Stick them in there.
Look who comes this way. Great. Trooper Johnson, and great recovery by Peters to check the ball out of bounds. He absolutely flew down the floor to get Trooper.
We've got 24 on the shot clock and about 24.8 on the game clock.
Good to see Peters hustle down the floor, down by 25 points in the final 30 seconds of the half to make a great check to provide a little inspiration to this Canuck team.
Peters picked up another foul, again trying to keep up old, I believe it's
And that's his third, huh? And this is what we talked about earlier. You know, this in basketball in North America seems like what are you calling a timeout for? 15 seconds. The thing is that you can't save these timeouts, so you might as well use them now if there's any advantage you can get.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of wondering maybe if Canada's feeling a little tired after a pretty grueling game the other night. They haven't come out with the same kind of intensity defensively as we've been accustomed to seeing throughout this tournament.
Yeah, but I know, Rick, I mean, at this level, you just got to play right through that.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue of fatigue. I think it's an issue of just coming out on your mark and being in the flow. But the Americans have such a potent offense, they're going to make the Canadian defense look a little bit weaker than it has been in the past. The level of competition between what they faced in their pool versus what they're facing here against the Americans has increased significantly. And their level of competition has to increase accordingly.
That's right. And one of the things we all have to be aware of, and especially the coaches, that an awful lot of time frustration looks like you're not trying hard. Just the frustration makes it look as if, you're just not putting everything into it. And this is a frustrated group right now, and Joe Higgins is going to have to put them together in that locker room.
Joe Higgins is the kind of coach that would never quit. He's the kind of guy that will give every ounce of energy until that last buzzer, whether you're up by 30 or down by 30.
And Rick, you were telling me before the game, that's the type of player he was. He worked hard for everything that he achieved.
Yes, Joe Higgins has cerebral palsy and had a significant disability when he first came to wheelchair basketball. And through his efforts, he had to think more about the sport and understand it, internalize it, and as a result, he actually increased physically.
Brant Stroback fouled underneath with 2.5 seconds to go, so this might be the couple of points that'll lift Canada going into the dressing room.
I haven't been excited about some of the calls the referees made. That was an excellent call because Canada did not get the shot away, and yet he gave him two foul shots, because what happened is he was stopped from shooting the ball at all. And a lot of times officials, if that ball doesn't get away, they make it a one-on-one.
And Stroback hasn't been to the line an awful lot during this tournament. 1 for 3 coming in.
Okay.
He cut the lead in half with this one. Bangs it hard off that iron. Looking for Trooper Johnson on an outlet pass as the buzzer goes.
Nice steal by Kenny Hall to prevent that break.
So at the half, it's the USA 48, Canada 23.
Well, it's John, you better get out of here. You go downstairs and see if you can get a hold of a couple of people and do some explaining about what's going on while Rick and I try and figure out what the heck is going on out here.
Well, if you look at the Canadian strategy at this point, I imagine that Joe Higgins is going to go back and talk to his team members and say, look, guys, you're going to have to forget about this first half. Just the way we asked, our star French player in the second half to come out and forget about his first half. The Canadians have tried to unleash their offense, but they just haven't been successful. A very potent U.S. defense, but an even more potent U.S. offense. Look at that. We have 4 of their 5 players close to double digits. We have Tree Waller, Trooper Johnson, Reggie Colton, and Mark Shepard, all guys that they would expect to be number 1, 2, 3, and 4 on their offense, up there from 8 points all the way up to 14.
That's right, and the size is a factor, not only under the basket, but on that perimeter. We're not getting the open shots because there's a big hand up in our way when we're looking to take a shot.
We'll see what happens as the U.S. has possession off the opening tip for the second half, and Tree Waller connects rather quickly.
Comes right back at it, but Canada had him exactly where they wanted him to, be outside.
Can't afford this. We can't afford turnovers in a game like this. We're the ones that have to cause a turnover, not do it.
It's a little bit of pressure coming on by the Americans on their defense now, and we'll see how Canada reacts. But right now, they've got a turnover, and they're on offense.
I think if the U.S. coach is looking for pressure now, he's worried about them getting complacent. It's one of the good ways to get people playing, to get them out to play defense.
Brad Hendricks really knows his stuff, a veteran of many U.S. national and international competitions.
Reggie Colton and Roy Henderson were battling it out there. The USA gets the ball. Shepard to the tree, and the tree hits for 2.
Major dilemma there now for the Canadians. Tree Waller has just hit 2 in a row from the same spot. Canadians are going to have to push him out, and then they're going to be more vulnerable for the pick and roll.
And that's what people have to understand. The big guys from the U.S. are very mobile. They're not big guys that have to go in there and just sit in there. They can really move.
Jeff Dennis to Chris Samus. 10 on the shot clock. Samus, a little alley-oop pass. And Kenny Hall couldn't find the bucket there. Trooper Johnson now, big collision as Hall goes down pretty hard.
I think we're going to have an offensive fall there by Tree Waller. If it's not a foul, it's a timeout because of man out on the floor.
No foul call, Rick. Turns out to be a referee's timeout.
Never can see it. Major contact, but no call.
Mark Shepard. Well, I got to hand it to Ron McKay. What a classy individual to stick around. And really, what do you talk about in terms of positives after the first half?
That's what we set up here. That's a position you want to be in. You don't want to talk to anybody. You want to get in and spend time with your players. And he took time out because he's here to promote this game. He understands how important it is to give his explanation.
And you can see that the Americans have started out exactly where they left. All 4 of their top scorers are back in the second half, hot as they were in the first half.
They backed off on that pressure. They did it once, got a turnover. Now they backed off a little bit.
The Americans were promoted as pre-tournament favorites. They're living true to form here. 56-23 the score. The U.S. on top. 18 minutes to go here in the second half of our second semifinal at Gold Cup 94.
And they've blown out every team they've played. This is the game that they're used to playing.
Jack, you and I were talking before the game. The Americans have blown each team out by an average of 30 points a game. And that definitely missed the mark there. As Mark Shepard comes up the floor. Trooper Johnson, nice little spin move. Going to slow it down a bit. Came into this game with 20 assists. Schlappy, nothing but net from the paint.
Beautiful execution, great shot selection.
That's right. And Canada didn't do anything wrong. They just got caught by a team that really knew how to handle the ball on that play.
You know, some people thought that the United States would have trouble making the transition from the great Dave Kiley era. David Kiley was one of the greatest wheelchair basketball players in the world and still is one of these greatest athletes in the world. He's not playing on this team to date, and they're also missing a couple of other old veterans, but they sure have filled in the gap with some incredible talent and depth.
And the U.S. has always had, as I was early time coaching in the States, Junius Kellogg was an outstanding player, you know, all around the world. Unfortunately for the States, and unfortunately for basketball in general, it wasn't as well organized.
Henderson, who just got a bucket for Team Canada about a minute ago, gets the ball. Now Jim Enright. And at the top of the popper, Jeff Dennis makes some moves. The look-away dish, and Ken Hall wasn't expecting the pass.
Kenny was inside, and you know what? Even if he was expecting it, he had the opening, but because of the size of the big man for the Americans, it just made it that much taller to exploit the opportunity inside.
Canada's got to make sure that they take the shots as they come. They can't be too careful, and they can't be reckless. Just play.
And Hall, who had taken a spill at center court, the whistle didn't go for that reason. The foul was called against Jim Enright, his second.
And probably a foul that had to happen. They were down 5-4 against a team that's bigger and rougher than they are. The foul at least stops the game, gives everybody a chance to get back in.
And all the yelling is about Kenny Hall trying to get repaired.
Yeah, I think the fans were worried that they were going to give the referee,
right.
the referee was going to give the ball up before Ken Hall was back in the game. Here he is, he's back in shape.
16 and a half minutes to go. A 23-point United States lead. Shepard. Trooper Johnson was swinging on the inside.
Kenny Hall was called on a position foul against Reggie Colton, number 10.
Trooper Johnson.
Went Canada's way.
Call against Trooper, I think.
United States foul to number 10, Reggie Colton, his third, team second.
Reggie Colton, number 10.
Here comes Canada right back at it, down by 23. Jim Enright looking across and finds Jeff Dennis, puts it up and in. That brings this crowd to life, and hopefully Team Canada as well. Mike Schlappy quickly up the floor. There to Trooper Johnson. Had designs on that three-pointer, bounce pass to Shepard. Oh, and a nice feed inside to Darryl Waller, and that's a total mismatch. He just gets those hands up there, and he gets the pass up and in.
No way you can stop that.
What does Jeff Dennis do? He's in between Mark Shepard and Trooper Johnson, both of them on fire.
Exactly. But Enright responds with his second straight. 60-29, 15 and a half minutes to go. Shepard to Trooper Johnson. Waller calling for the pass, then backs out of the key. And Canada hustling for those boards. Jeff Dennis, outlet to Enright. Hustling up the floor was Samus.
I think Trooper got caught pushing off a little bit.
Yeah, I think Roy Henderson, the veteran on the team, was able to draw that foul.
Johnson, his first, team's third. Substitution for Canada, number 13, Patrick Griffin.
And Pat Griffin back in the game, gets a nice hand from this partisan Canadian crowd. He's got 3 fouls, 4 points on the night. Samus tried the bounce pass, maybe an ill-advised play.
Well, one thing we have to realize, if you throw the ball and it bounces, that takes a lot longer than if you throw it straight to somebody.
Shepard back door, and Trooper Johnson was there for the feed. 62-29. Samus hustles up the floor, reverses his tracks, gets it there to Kenny Hall, bombs it from outside, and Griffin tried to tip it out of harm's way, but the Americans come up with possession and break the ball back up the floor.
He had very good position, but he just couldn't handle it. Too many big people.
Exactly. The World Wheelchair Basketball Championships are coming from Edmonton.
Another foul against Reggie Colton. See if 3 personal fouls, and Reggie will probably end up getting a break here pretty quick, if not a timeout. Oh, we have equipment timeout. Trooper Johnson. See, they've got spare wheels in case they've got a flat or something goes wrong with one. They'll just take it off and put another one on and fix it later on the bench.
Now, when you say a flat, Rick, are some of these wheelchair these wheels actually pumped up?
These wheels are all pneumatic. The back wheels are all pneumatic. High-pressure tubular tires, usually about 120 pounds of air pressure in them per square inch.
God, he throws around these words, pneumatic and dramatic, and this guy is really giving me an education here.
Speaking of technology, the World Congress of the International Wheelchair Basketball Association has just approved to allow chairs to change from 4 wheels to 3 wheels. They're allowing a 3-wheel configuration. That's going to increase the mobility of these athletes by another 20%.
Yeah, you were saying this is a massive change.
It is. It does decrease the stability a little bit, but a lot of athletes are going to see a tremendous advantage by going to 3 wheels.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Van der Linden, the superstar from the Netherlands, has a chair pretty much similar to that you just described.
Essentially, it is a 3-wheel configuration, just beating the rules a little bit by having 2 little casters joined together at the front point area there.
Well, you've seen this game evolve, Rick. If anybody.
It's been a tremendous evolution. They've really started to change the sport to allow the athletes to become more liberated, to see all of their potential become unleashed as a result of adaptation of equipment, strapping to get more into the actual chairs so that they're more stable and that they can utilize all of their ability. Not to mention the depth of competition.
Some pretty good passing inside. And Mal Jouet puts it up. The whistle had already gone.
It was no basket, but I'll tell you, the U.S. came through with perhaps the best passing series in the whole game.
And the veteran number 12, El Campos, he's been around for a long time, longer than I have, and it's nice to see him in the game making some things happen.
I didn't know there was anybody around as long as you.
There's a few of those old timers around.
The U.S. has 3 teams 40 years of age or older.
Yes, there's some real experience out there, but they've also got a lot of great youth. That's the great strength of the Americans.
And it's kind of nice to have that mix.
Kenny Hall had the opportunity inside, but there was a call.
Well, you know, the youth brings the enthusiasm, maybe a little bit more talent, maybe a little more hungry. But I tell you, having those guys out there with all that experience means that everything can be calmed down. And you don't really have to coach as much as you got to let those veterans, by example, show the rookies how to play.
We've got a real combination of youth and veterans out there on the Canadian team right now. Ken Hall, Richard Peters, Dave Duracross, and then, of course, the veterans. You have right there Patty Griffin and Roy Henderson.
And Griffin with a beautiful move there. Unfortunately, he can get that one to go down. 8 rookies on the Team Canada roster. So they can go nowhere but up.
There's that communication. Now somebody missed their man, and when you get down, you start to internalize an awful lot of this, and forget that you've got 4 other guys out there to help you. Forget to talk to them.
Mike Schlappe has had a pretty strong game. He just got those 2 for a 9-point total on the game. Came into the game with 6.2 as an average. So it's the guys that weren't getting an awful lot of points, but helping out with 2 assists that seem to be coming through tonight for the United States. And this guy is one of them, Trooper Johnson, guarded by Ken Hall, zips a pass in, deflected into the hands of Mal Jouet, and grabbing in the rebound is
Number 12, El Campos.
It's good to see the crowd getting in this. I mean, you know, you wouldn't know it's a 30-point game up there, the way the crowd is so appreciative of the good plays that Canada makes.
Oh, and a nice pass from Hall to Griffin. He was busted in down the lane. And busting back are the United States.
I've seen Patty Griffin make those plays with regularity. That was a high percentage shot for him, and it just didn't fall.
Chuck Gill, spin move. And shows some artistry in the paint. Yes.
That's right. Unbelievable control. Caught that ball, he was guarded, spun, lost his man completely, and then it's just a matter of making the shot.
Durapos. He was hot from three-point land in the first half, and now he gets a big one here. 66-32, the USA on top. A little over 11 and a half minutes to go here in the second half. You know, we're talking about Pat Griffin. He's got so much imagination with the ball, and I think that has to be an asset with some of these players because he makes some amazing moves. Nice little move there.
Very good.
By Griffin, who drew the charge. Smart play by the veteran player.
Stepped right in, anticipated it, stepped right in and took the charge. Now, who's running that camera down there?
There you can see now that wheel that was taken off of Trooper Johnson's chair is ready to be, it's been repaired, now it's ready to be put back on again.
He wants to get his own wheel back, huh?
That's right.
All right.
Does it make that much of a difference?
It really does. Yeah, you can really feel it. Sometimes, you know, it's just a personal. It's like a sneaker. If you change your sneaker, one sneaker, you're off balance. It doesn't feel quite right.
And especially if you've got to have a certain pressure on the tire. Obviously, the substitute tire can't be exactly the same as yours.
The wheels and the push rims, they're all different.
Ken Hall.
Good surge by Canada now. Now it's a matter of stopping them down at this end.
Schlappy. Oh, good fake there. Goes to the top of the key and sends the pass over to Chuck Gill. Guarded by Henderson. Campos trying to sneak in. Schlappy still with it. There's Campos, dish. And Gill back to Campos. Oh, nice move. Can't get the ball, and Hall gets it there. Canada coming back. Richard Peters as the crowd responds. Pass to Griffin. What a spinner move that was. Perfect dish. Oh, and unfortunately, Peters couldn't get that one to fall. USA comes back. I think Kenny Hall is going to be tagged with a foul there.
He did.
Hook Trooper.
Tough call, too. Probably a good call, but a tough call. He was really hustling to come back and get that ball, and we'll get a good look at it right here, I think.
Here's a race for the ball.
All right, and here he goes. He's after that basketball. I mean, and we'll see a black shirt come in there sooner or later. There he comes, and he gets at it first, and now we foul right there. There's the contact. Good call by the official, just a tough play.
You can see how skillfully the athletes are falling out of their chairs. They used to doing that all the time. It's not a big deal, and that's just the way it happens in wheelchair basketball.
I remember here, I mean, having watched wheelchair basketball, not at this level over a long period of time, it was still a shock to me to see people coming out, until I started to realize that when a player comes out of a wheelchair, it's like the players that I used to coach falling down. And as one of them said, hey, coach, we're never more than 2 feet off the ground. You know, I mean, players fall down 6-7 times a game, and we never think about it. And 6-7 times out of your chair in this game is the same thing.
Well, it's a very physical game, no question about it. These guys are very intense players. We saw an awful lot of intensity over the past week or so. You know, Rick, you and I were talking, you know, we were just talking about the tires and everything, and all the advance of when it comes to wheelchairs. These things are worth between $1,700 and $3,000.
Yeah, they're very expensive. Most of them they're not custom made, but they're made with very little volume, and that means that the manufacturers have to charge almost per unit labor price, and they have to mark it up to make a profit on it, and that's very difficult for a lot of the athletes. They have to seek sponsorship from corporations, from service organizations, and it's a real challenge. And if you don't have a good chair, boy, you're going to be left in the dirt. You could be the greatest player in the world sitting in a tough chair, and you're not going to be there.
Well, I always tell young athletes in stand-up basketball, most important piece of equipment you have are your shoes.
Yes.
And here are the shoes. I mean, I heard you telling a young fan outside, I don't use my legs, I use my chair.
Canada coming back, 66-34 the score. Durapos, pass inside for Hall. Dribbles off his hands.
We had Al Campos down
yes.
and posed a bit of a risk. Stop the play.
See, Dr. Randy Gregg just came in, sit down right in front of us somewhere, I don't know, who is a great hockey player here in Edmonton and also an outstanding physician.
Yes, he is, and he has a number of sports medicine clinics that are existing throughout the city of Alberta, or city of Edmonton in Alberta.
Does a lot of work over the Grant MacEwan, the brand new Grant MacEwan Community College downtown campus. The Sport and Wellness Center.
Well, Grant MacEwan, Ken Larson, who played for the Canadian
Former
national
Team
basketball
Canada
team.
member.
Yes, Ken Larson is the athletic director and a basketball coach over there. I'm looking forward to spending a little bit of time with him in the next day or so.
Actually, I saw him yesterday, Jack. He runs a terrific program. If you haven't seen the new campus, you've got to see it. It's absolutely unbelievable. Ken Hall trying to sneak in. Lob pass deep for Durapos.
See, the U.S. is not going to give him that three-point shot.
No, they're not.
He got it in the first half.
There
Well, he got
there.
it again.
But nobody banging the boards because the U.S. blocking out Campos, among others, to get in the way of Team Canada. Schlappy, the Campos, quickly hustling his Jouette. Puts on the brakes. And a foul, I think, against Trooper Johnson.
Giants gave foul number 14, Trooper Johnson, his second.
A 22-point deficit for Team Canada with 9:14 to go. Here comes Durapos. The hot hand from three-point lane. Oh, pardon me, a 32-point. A little wishful thinking on my part, I suppose, fellas.
Well, what Canada's got to do now, and you never give up in a game because as long as there's clocks, you know, the clock is running, you got a chance to win. But let's take a look at that last one.
Pat Griffin driving the key.
At the line for Canada, number 13, Patrick.
Here comes the pass. Here comes Griffin. Contact in the chair. Look at that. Great
And
concentration.
still tries to get the shot away. You have to watch this ritual, fellas. This guy is probably the best free throw shooter I've seen at this tournament. He is pure as pure can be. Look at that. Rams it home. Came into tonight's game with a near 80% free throw percentage. And that one gives Canada 35, but on the other end of the scale, the United States was 66. Schlappy. He'll try and set things up and content with keeping things slow. Maybe not. He's going to bomb from way out and gets it.
Well, Canada's got to try and get themselves in some kind of a groove here, not necessarily for this game, but they've got to play for third place. I mean, if things continue the way they're going right now, they've got to play for third place on Saturday, and they've got to get themselves reorganized. They're playing pretty well right now.
Roy Henderson, the skipper. And that skips off the rim, and the United States. Good hustle there by Durapos to make the check, and even better hustle by Griffin to get it back, but unfortunately, Mark Shepard was there for the United States. Pass on the wing. Schlappy with the ball now. Makes a nice move inside. Leaves it there for Shepard. 8 minutes to go. The USA on top, 68-35. Schlappy weaves his way. Nice pass to Shepard, and he makes no mistake. Good ball control and excellent finish. And they ate up a lot of time on that clock, too.
Yeah, Shepard is still in that game, 16 points today.
That's right. Rich Peters to Ken Hall. Again, Canada misses and the U.S. brings it back up. Shepard. Schlappy. Ken Hall forces him to make the pass, but Shepard's there to get it. Chuck Gill inside for Campos. As the shot clock winds down to 4. And Schlappe, his shot taken, and then Campos there for the rebound, slapped away by Duapos.
Timeout, United States.
That ball goes inside with number 12 on the U.S. He's going to get it.
You're watching the Gold Cup, the 6th World Wheelchair Basketball Championship from Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. 7:01 to go. USA 70, Canada 35.
Well, Jack, what do you think the Americans will be saying right now in this timeout? They were the ones who called it. Are they just going to do a line change here to give some of the other ones who are on the bench?
Let's see who they're coming in. I think they're going to bring in some of the players that didn't get to play much in the earlier games. Although with 30-point games, I guess everybody got to play quite a bit. But these are not the guys they count on to win the tough game. These are the guys who are developing role players. I'm trying to see Shepard is still out there, who's an outstanding player. But some of these other guys are coming in. Let's play the game. Let's play the game now. Let's go for the next 7 minutes, see what we can do out of it. But play steady basketball the way the U.S. wants to play. Canada's got to do the same thing.
I think you mentioned earlier, they're playing for bronze medal game in preparation mentally now because they have to break that French voodoo jinx that has typically plagued Canada for a number of years, and they have that opportunity tomorrow in front of a home crowd.
Sure, and you remember what you've done recently, so that if they can finish up over the last 7 minutes with a solid performance and forgetting what the score might be, I think that we go into that game on Saturday in a much better mood.
And United States head coach Brad Hendrick throwing a couple of his veteran players into the game. Jeff Braille at 40 years old on the floor now, along with Mike Neville, who's the ripe old age of 41. We talked about a mix of youth and veterans. We'll see it right now.
Well, other than Mark Shepard, he's really resting his starting group here.
Steve Welsh in the game too. He saw limited action throughout the tournament, but an impressive player nonetheless.
That was a nice play.
It was indeed.
Nice play by Canada. That's the kind of stuff they got to get that rhythm and make those memories.
I've been impressed by the spirit of Jeff Dennis. He's really hung in there, and he's actually turned over some offensive balls into the hoop and made it really pay off for Canada.
And he had almost no stats coming into this game.
That's right.
And he's worked himself out very well in here. And he's Canada's future. He's one of those young players that are Canada's future.
Shepard.
Well, I'm glad to see Shepard miss. I was beginning to think he never was going to miss.
Steve Welsh, this guy likes to drive. Trying to set things up right now. Nice lob pass from Mike Hayes. Guarded by a couple of Canadians and just had the reach on him. Made a good shot. Here comes Dennis back up the floor for Canada. Samus, good hustle. Took the pass and then made the bucket.
And that's what we need now. We can afford to match them now. You know, to win the game is kind of an impossible dream right now. But we can match them baskets and say, going into that locker room, well, we played a good 6-7 minutes at the end. Got to stop them.
Mike Hayes.
2 for 2. Looking good out there.
So they get it off the bench as well. 74-39, the USA leading this one. 5:15 to go in our second semifinal here at Gold Cup 94.
I don't think this is an unusual USA team.
No.
They've got players coming out of the woodwork. I mean, the guys who are sitting there usually would be starters on almost every other country in the world.
And they came to this tournament with plenty to prove. They were stripped of their 1992 Paralympics medal because of a drug problem. They vehemently deny that charge, and they're still investigating into that as we speak.
Yeah, so that was charged against David Kiley, the most outstanding player for the United States and one of the best players in the world. It was a real disappointment, and I know that it's a real lesson for everyone to learn about the use of drugs in sport.
Roy Henderson with the reach.
And what annoys me sometimes, and I'm not sure if it's this particular case, but when we talk about drugs, people start saying, well, this was not steroids, it was not heroin. This was a over-the-counter drug.
Pill.
But the idea is, Pardon me?
It was a sleeping pill.
All right, but the concept is that I know that in every major event there's a list of things you may not do. And just as we're not going to discuss whether or not stepping on the line or putting your wheel on the line should or should not be out, it is out. And the same thing, if you're a world-class athlete, I think you should be very much aware of what you can and can't do.
Or if you're not, definitely your trainers and coaches that help prescribe those issues should be.
Excellent points, fellas. 4:29 to go. USA 74, Canada 39.
The argument always in a team sport is saying, well, wait, it was only one individual did this. You know, why should we all be punished? But I mean, if that individual scores 60 points and wins the game, we all get the credit with him or her. And I think it's a team sport, and there's an added responsibility for you to do the right thing because of the other people aside from yourself.
I have to agree with you there, Jack.
Well, the Americans definitely are coming back to vindicate themselves for that medal being taken away here in their performance at the World Championships, and I'm sure that they'll also be prepared at the Paralympic Games in Atlanta in 1996 in their home country.
That's right. That's right. We talked earlier that U.S. never leaves, no team ever leaves the United States without the idea of going to win the gold medal.
Reg McClellan colliding with Richard Peters. Shot off the mark. McClellan back to Griffin.
Good hustle. Good movement.
Working the ball around well. Griffin. Chris Samus trying to sneak in. And there's Jeff Dennis. What a great pass and what a great slip spin move.
Well, Rick had just been saying how he's come along for a pretty young, inexperienced player.
He's doing very well out there.
An impressive game for him. 6 points considering he'd only had 5 points during the entire tournament. Rich Peters, lead pass for Griffin, puts on the brakes. Samus with the ball, over to Dennis, he's the hot man. Nice little feed to Griffin, and unfortunately, but he does get back the rebound after the ball spun out of the cylinder. Tough break there. And there's Steve Welsh weaving his way in.
Nice play.
Sets up Mark Shepard.
Big league play, boy. Big league play.
He really has some moves.
He took it down, took the defense away from him, then looked away, froze them with the look away, and skipped the ball across to his teammate.
McClellan, speaking of moves, nice little one there by Jeff Dennis. Leaves it there for Griffin, three-pointer. And count it, it is good. 76-44. Canada making a late surge.
It's too little, but it may not be too late. I mean, let's get at it. Let's get it organized, get ourselves ready for the next
Exactly.
event.
2:05 to go. Welsh, little pass inside.
Unbelievable one-handed shot.
And Mike Neville, who's pretty much famous for that shot, got it there. Samus busting his way in. Foul called.
United States foul to number 11 is first. At the line for Canada, number 11, Chris Samus, shooting 2.
Surprisingly, Samus is pretty fearless when it comes to going to the hoop. He hasn't been to the line an awful lot during this tournament.
Chris Samus is one of those pure basketball players. He was a ball player before he had his injury and became a paraplegic. And you can just see it in his nature, his fluid movements, his follow through in the wrists. Just a beautiful, pure shot.
1-2 there, 78-45, the U.S. on top, 1:45 to go in our second semifinal. Dennis to Peters, pass a little low, and Welsh comes up with the ball for the USA. Look at that hustle by Samus there. And now Griffin trying to get at him, puts on the brakes. Welsh still with it. The Americans buying a little time here. Mark Shepard. And now Mike Neville. Deep. Mike Hayes. And Canada comes up with the loose ball. Dennis, who's had a great second half, to Griffin. And Dennis is asking for the ball. He wants it. And a long pass to Peters. Two-pointer. Thought it was
Now you got to grab.
Yeah, good crowd.
56.8 seconds to go. Foul called on Dennis. Just a little anxious to get in there.
And the nice thing here is that the fans have hung in.
That's right.
They're still appreciative.
Well,
And that means a lot, doesn't it,
I think
Jack?
it's the intensity of the game.
They just appreciate that Canada is here in this championship. They have a chance to win a medal for their country. They're playing their hearts out here despite the score. And, you know, you've seen the wave actually being performed here just a couple of minutes ago right around this stadium. We must have, I don't know, 4,000 to 5,000 people here.
And Rick brought up a great point. Canada is playing with the four best basketball teams in the world. And if a doctor or a lawyer or somebody else is sitting anywhere in Canada and they would be the fourth best in the world in whatever their little world is, they'd be very proud of it. But when we get here, we want more. You know, we want to win the gold, we want to win the silver, we want to win the bronze. But Canada's done well to be here. They've got to get themselves organized for Saturday. And I'll tell you what, I think that I could score points if I put on one of those U.S. uniforms. They just bring them out of the, you know, in waves, every guy.
Names like Trooper Johnson and Reggie Colton and Darryl Waller. But at the same time, we've grown accustomed to names like Jeff Dennis and Pat Griffin and Chris Samus. This is something for any wheelchair athlete to shoot for. Dan Britton tried to get it, couldn't. And the United States come back. Shepard to Welsh. Reverse layup, two-hander goes down. 3.9 seconds to go. The USA 80, Canada 47.
Good move. Roll the ball in.
Very smart play.
Clock doesn't start until someone touches the ball. And looks like we'll get a shot.
Strobach. Whoa! Tosses up a prayer and it's answered. Great way for Canada to finish up this game going into the bronze medal game
30-point
on Saturday.
game, and the people are on their feet cheering Canada. That's tremendous.
That is.
That's what fan support's all about, and that's what sport's all about. Win or lose, you give it everything you've got. Real value provided here.
And there are people cheering for the United States who are up cheering for Canada now. Both those teams have worked as hard. Canada didn't play as well as they would like, and the United States was awesome.
There we go. Almost just past half. Right off the backboard.
Whoa.
Beautiful shot.
If it's 3 points outside the line, that should be 6. Huh?
Isn't that amazing to see a standing ovation from this crowd
That's
here?
right. That is. I think
Experience. And they're going to have to get prepared mentally and forget this game, learn some lessons from it, and come out of the mark on Saturday at 12 o'clock Alberta time, or as we look into it, 2 o'clock Eastern time.
But the young people watching this, no matter what their physical capabilities are, they've got to understand that a loss is not a career, it's an event. I mean, and no matter what that loss is, if it's physical or an emotional loss such as this, it's got to be something that you put a stop to and get on with the rest of your life.
The Canadians are a young team. They're building for Atlanta in 1996. Well, let's go down to John. I know he's got an interview coming for us with Trooper Johnson, the star of the American team and of this game today.
That's right.
Trooper, this really is an unbelievable team you have here. You came here with a mission to win the gold medal, and you seem to be getting it from all angles, from all players, from all positions. Talk about your performance tonight.
I was just fortunate to have a good performance in the first half. In the second half, I kind of died down a little bit. We were trying to move into work in different areas of our game. The bench players came up strong, and they put in a hell of an effort. I mean, it was a big team victory for us, and it was great to get the win here in Canada. So.
And you came into this game tonight with 20 assists, leading the team in that department. But you shot the lights out in the first half. You guys showed a good mix in throwing the ball around, getting it to different players.
You know, in the first half, for some reason, it just felt good. I started throwing it up, and I missed a few shots, but I just kept throwing it up. Later on, we started mixing around and getting everybody involved in the game, and everybody was putting it in. I mean, the ball was just falling for us. The hoop seemed like a swimming pool. We were just throwing peas in it, it seemed like.
Despite the fact Canada lost by 30, you got to give them credit. They're still a pretty good club. They played well defensively, but again, you guys are a pretty lethal team on offense.
I think what Canada's showing here at the Gold Cup was amazing. I mean, they beat Holland to advance into this, and they weren't even expected to get this far. For them to come this far was great. They have a great team, and hopefully I wish them all the best tomorrow. Hopefully they'll do well.
Okay, we don't try to belabor the point, but coming into this tournament, you were stripped of the 1992 Paralympic medal. How much was that on your minds coming into this tournament?
I think that for the 3 members of the team that were on the '92 national team, it was weighing pretty heavy on our minds. We wanted to make a showing. We wanted to make an effort here that proved that we were still some of the best players in the world, and kind of hopefully make a statement to the world that even though they took the medal for, it's still in arbitration, so the medal's not really gone totally yet. But even though they stripped us, that we played best and we earned it. So.
Well, this would just mean that you've earned the right again to wear that gold medal. Now, this team is an excellent mix of youth and veterans. There's like 4 players on this team, 40 plus. And how have they helped the youthful players establish themselves on this club?
I think they add a lot of strength to the team. I mean, they kind of control the young guys and keep them from getting out of hand, and emotionally especially. And plus their experience. I mean, Darryl Waller's got 6 national teams at this level, at the Gold Cup or Paralympic level, so he's got a lot of experience coming in. I've been on 7 national teams. Mike Schlappy's been on 6 national teams. Reggie Colton, this is his 5th national team. So we have a lot of experience here, and just the mix is working out great. I mean, all the players are just complimenting each other, and we have a really good team. We have a strong team.
Okay, let's talk about Saturday's matchup with Great Britain. You guys really haven't had a tough test throughout this entire tournament. You've been blowing teams out by an average margin of victory of 30 points. What do you know about the Brits going into Saturday's tilt?
I know the British team is hungry for us. They made some statements in the paper saying that they'd like to come over here and win the gold, and they'd love to win it against us. And everybody plays their best game against us usually, so we have to make sure that we don't beat ourselves in that game and make sure that we're on top of our own game and not let ourselves be our worst enemy. Hopefully we'll play a good game there and take home the gold.
And perhaps when you have such resounding victories, it's good to keep an even keel about the whole situation. You don't get too high when the highs come your way, and you don't get too low when the lows come your way. You guys seem to be pretty level-headed about the way you've been doing your business.
Well, our coach keeps our head on straight. He's been great about that. And then the other day when we got tested in the first half against Germany, that kind of weighs heavy on your mind, saying, hey, we can defeat ourselves if we let us. So we have to make sure and we get on top of our game right away and play the best we can. Make sure that we play team ball and get the ball in the hole and pull it and bring it home.
Well, that you've done throughout the entire tournament, and you yourself had an outstanding game tonight, Trooper. Congratulations. Good luck in Saturday's final.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Edmonton for hosting this, and Canada's been great. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Trooper Johnson, who had an outstanding game tonight for the USA, who scored it going away. And guys, your comments on a game that we kind of felt disappointed for the Canadians.